Every culture tells the same hero story. From ancient Greece to modern Hollywood, from Mesopotamian epics to indigenous legends, the pattern is identical. A hero is born under unusual circumstances, receives a call to adventure, faces trials and enemies, descends into darkness, returns transformed, and saves their people. This isn't coincidence. This is the hero's journey, and it reveals something profound about human consciousness, storytelling, and possibly the nature of reality itself. Today we're exploring hero archetypes across cultures. We're going to see how Gilgamesh, Hercules, King Arthur, Buddha, Jesus, Moses, Krishna, Beowulf, and countless other heroes follow the exact same narrative pattern. We're asking, why is this story universal? What does it reveal about human psychology? And could it be describing something more than just metaphor? Here's what's absolutely fascinating. Joseph Campbell, the mythologist who studied hero stories from hundreds of cultures, discovered that they all follow a specific structure. He called it the monomyth or the hero's journey. It has distinct stages that appear across time and geography with remarkable consistency. Birth, call to adventure, refusal of the call, meeting the mentor, crossing the threshold, tests and trials, approaching the innermost cave, the ordeal, the reward, the road back, resurrection, and return with the elixir. That's not a vague pattern. That's a specific narrative structure appearing in myths separated by thousands of years and thousands of miles. The question is, why? Is it because humans are psychologically wired to tell this story? Is it because the hero's journey describes actual spiritual transformation that every seeker experiences? Or is it preserving memories of real heroes whose stories became mythologized? Let's start by looking at the structure itself, stage by stage, and comparing how different cultures tell the same story. Stage 1, the unusual birth. Heroes are born under extraordinary circumstances. Often they're born to virgins, to gods and mortals, or through miraculous conception. They're frequently threatened as infants and must be hidden or protected. Jesus is born to the Virgin Mary through divine conception, and King Herod tries to kill him as an infant. Moses is born during a time when Hebrew infants are being killed, and he's hidden in a basket on the Nile. Krishna is born in a prison, and the king tries to kill him, but he's smuggled to safety. Hercules is the son of Zeus and a mortal woman, and Hera tries to kill him as an infant. King Arthur's birth is surrounded by magic and prophecy, and he's hidden and raised by a commoner. Perseus is born to Danae after Zeus impregnates her as Golden Rain, and the king tries to kill them both. Romulus and Remus, founders of Rome, are born to a virgin priestess and the god Mars, and they're abandoned to die but are saved by a she-wolf. Sargon of Akkad is born in secret and placed in a basket on a river. Same pattern. Miraculous or divine birth, threat as an infant, being hidden or protected. Why is this universal? Is it elevating heroes above ordinary humans? Is it describing genetic manipulation or divine intervention that ancient peoples witnessed? Or is it symbolic of the hero being special from the beginning? Stage 2, the call to adventure. The hero is living an ordinary life when something disrupts it. A message, a vision, a catastrophe calls them to leave their comfortable world and embark on a journey. Moses receives the call at the burning bush. God tells him to free the Israelites from Egypt. Buddha receives the call when he sees suffering outside his palace and decides to seek enlightenment. King Arthur receives the call when he pulls the sword from the stone, revealing his destiny. Luke Skywalker receives Princess Leia's holographic message calling for help. Gilgamesh receives the call when his friend Enkidu dies, and he decides to seek immortality. Odysseus receives the call to join the Trojan War. Frodo receives the call when Gandalf tells him he must destroy the One Ring. Harry Potter receives his Hogwarts letter revealing his magical destiny. Same pattern. Ordinary life is disrupted by a call to something greater. Why is this stage universal? Is it describing the moment humans become aware of their higher purpose? Is it the psychological transition from unconscious living to conscious seeking? Or is it preserving memories of actual figures who received divine missions? Stage 3, Refusal of the Call. The hero initially resists. They doubt themselves, they fear the unknown, they try to avoid the journey. Moses tells God he's not worthy and can't speak well. Jonah literally runs away from God's command and ends up in the belly of a whale. Buddha initially hesitates to leave his comfortable palace life. Luke Skywalker initially refuses to leave Tatooine with Obi-Wan. Frodo doesn't want the responsibility of the ring. Hercules initially refuses his heroic labors but is cursed until he completes them. Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita refuses to fight in the war, and Krishna must convince him. King Arthur doubts his right to rule. Same pattern. Initial refusal, doubt, fear. Why is this universal? Is it reflecting genuine human psychology? We resist change and fear the unknown. Is it making heroes relatable by showing their vulnerability? Or is it describing the difficulty of accepting a divine mission? Stage 4, Meeting the Mentor. The hero encounters a wise guide who provides knowledge, training, or magical gifts that prepare them for the journey. Moses meets God at the burning bush. Buddha meets spiritual teachers who guide him toward enlightenment. Luke Skywalker meets Obi-Wan Kenobi who teaches him the Force. Harry Potter meets Dumbledore who guides and protects him. King Arthur meets Merlin who trains and advises him. Gilgamesh meets Utnapishtim, the immortal man who survived the flood. Hercules receives guidance from Athena. Frodo meets Gandalf who explains his quest. Neo meets Morpheus who reveals the Matrix. Simba meets Rafiki who helps him remember who he is. Same pattern. A wise, often supernatural mentor appears at the critical moment. Why is this universal? Is it describing actual spiritual teachers or enlightened beings who guide seekers? Is it psychological, representing the higher self or inner wisdom? Or is it preserving memories of advanced beings who taught ancient humanity? Stage 5, Crossing the Threshold. The hero leaves the ordinary world and enters the special world of adventure. There's no turning back. Moses crosses the Red Sea, leaving Egypt forever. Buddha leaves his palace and becomes a wandering ascetic. Luke leaves Tatooine with Obi-Wan. Neo takes the red pill and leaves the Matrix. Frodo leaves the Shire. King Arthur pulls the sword and accepts his kingship. Hercules begins his 12 labors. Odysseus sails from Troy. Gilgamesh enters the cedar forest. Harry Potter boards the Hogwarts Express. Dorothy is swept to Oz by the tornado. Same pattern. Physical departure from the familiar world into unknown territory. Why is this universal? Is it describing the initiation process that every spiritual seeker undergoes? Is it the psychological transition from childhood to adulthood? Or is it preserving memories of actual journeys that transformed ordinary people into legends? Stage 6, Tests, Allies, and Enemies. The hero faces trials that test their abilities, meets companions who join the quest, and encounters enemies who oppose them. Hercules faces 12 labors, each testing a different aspect of his strength and character. Odysseus faces Cyclops, sirens, and gods trying to prevent his return home. King Arthur gathers the Knights of the Round Table. Luke trains with Obi-Wan and meets Han Solo and Leia. Buddha faces temptations from Mara, the demon trying to prevent his enlightenment. Moses faces Pharaoh's resistance and the Israelites' complaints. Gilgamesh battles monsters with his companion Enkidu. Frodo is aided by the Fellowship and opposed by Sauron's forces. Same pattern. Series of tests that develop the hero's abilities, loyal companions who help, and powerful enemies who oppose. Why is this universal? Is it describing the actual trials that seekers face on the spiritual path? Is it the psychological journey through inner demons and external obstacles? Or is it training that prepared ancient heroes for their ultimate mission? Stage 7, Approach to the Innermost Cave. The hero reaches the most dangerous place. The location of the ultimate challenge, often underground or within enemy territory. Jesus approaches Jerusalem knowing he'll be crucified. Hercules descends to the underworld to capture Cerberus. Odysseus descends to the underworld to consult the dead. Inanna descends to the underworld to face her sister. Buddha approaches the Bodhi tree where he'll face his final temptation. Luke approaches the Death Star to rescue Princess Leia and destroy the Empire's weapon. Frodo approaches Mount Doom to destroy the ring. Harry approaches Voldemort in the final battle. Neo approaches the Matrix's core to confront Agent Smith. Same pattern. Approaching the place of ultimate danger, often described as descending or entering darkness. Why is this universal? Is it describing the dark night of the soul that all seekers experience? Is it the psychological journey into the unconscious? Or is it preserving memories of actual locations or experiences that transformed consciousness? Stage 8, the Ordeal or Death and Rebirth. The hero faces their greatest fear and experiences symbolic or literal death. This is the lowest point, the moment of greatest danger. Jesus is crucified and dies. He spends 3 days in death before resurrection. Osiris is killed and dismembered before being resurrected by Isis. Dionysus is torn apart as a child and reborn. Odin hangs himself on Yggdrasil for 9 days, dying to gain wisdom. Buddha sits under the Bodhi tree for 49 days, facing every temptation and fear, dying to his ego before achieving enlightenment. Inanna is killed in the underworld and hangs on a hook for 3 days before resurrection. Luke faces Darth Vader and nearly dies in Cloud City. Frodo is poisoned by Shelob and appears dead. Same pattern. Death, whether literal or symbolic, followed by resurrection or transformation. Why is this universal? Is it describing the ego death that all spiritual seekers must experience? Is it psychological transformation, the death of the old self? Or is it preserving memories of actual death and resurrection experiences? Stage 9, Reward or Seizing the Sword. After surviving the ordeal, the hero gains the ultimate prize. Knowledge, power, a sacred object, or enlightenment. Moses receives the 10 Commandments on Mount Sinai after facing God's presence. Buddha achieves enlightenment under the Bodhi tree. Hercules completes his labors and achieves redemption. Odysseus receives guidance from the dead on how to return home. King Arthur gains Excalibur. Jesus gains the power to offer salvation to humanity through his resurrection. Luke destroys the Death Star and becomes a true Jedi. Frodo destroys the ring and saves Middle-earth. Neo realizes he is the one and gains power over the Matrix. Prometheus steals fire from the gods and gives it to humanity. Same pattern. The hero gains something of immense value that will save their people. Why is this universal? Is it describing the actual gifts that enlightened beings bring back from spiritual journeys? Is it symbolic of knowledge or power that transforms both hero and community? Or is it preserving memories of actual technologies or wisdom that ancient heroes obtained? Stage 10, The Road Back. The hero must return to the ordinary world. But the return is often as dangerous as the journey out. Moses leads the Israelites back through the wilderness for 40 years. Odysseus faces more trials on his return voyage to Ithaca. Jesus' disciples face persecution spreading his teachings. Buddha faces opposition teaching his enlightenment. Hercules returns to his mortal life. Luke must escape the exploding Death Star. Frodo must leave Middle-earth because the Shire has been changed and he's been changed. Neo must return to the real world to save humanity. Dorothy must find her way back to Kansas. Same pattern. The return journey tests whether the hero has truly been transformed. Why is this universal? Is it describing the difficulty of reintegration after spiritual transformation? Is it the psychological challenge of bringing higher consciousness back into ordinary reality? Or is it preserving memories of actual return journeys that heroes undertook? Stage 11, Resurrection or Final Battle. The hero faces one final test. This is often described as a second death and rebirth, a final transformation. Jesus ascends to heaven, fully transformed from mortal to divine. Buddha achieves parinirvana, complete liberation. Odin returns from his 9-day sacrifice with runes and wisdom. Luke faces Darth Vader again and refuses to turn to the dark side, proving his transformation. Frodo must resist the ring's final temptation at Mount Doom. Neo dies in the Matrix and is resurrected with full power. Harry Potter willingly sacrifices himself to Voldemort and is resurrected. King Arthur faces his final battle against Mordred. Same pattern. One last test proving the hero's complete transformation. Why is this universal? Is it describing the final ego death necessary for complete enlightenment? Is it the psychological integration of transformation? Or is it preserving memories of actual final initiations? Stage 12, Return with the Elixir. The hero returns home transformed, bringing a gift that heals or saves their community. Moses brings the law that will govern his people. Buddha brings enlightenment teachings that will save countless beings from suffering. Jesus brings salvation and the promise of eternal life. Prometheus brings fire and knowledge that will advance humanity. Hercules returns redeemed and becomes a symbol of heroic virtue. Luke brings hope to the rebellion and becomes a symbol of the Force's power. Frodo returns having saved Middle-earth but forever changed. Neo becomes the one who will free humanity from the Matrix. King Arthur establishes Camelot and brings a golden age. Same pattern. The hero returns with something that benefits their entire community. Why is this universal? Is it describing the actual gifts enlightened beings bring to humanity? Is it symbolic of the wisdom gained through spiritual transformation? Or is it preserving memories of actual heroes who brought technologies, laws, or knowledge that advanced civilization? Now here's what's absolutely profound: this pattern doesn't just appear in ancient myths. It appears in modern movies, novels, video games, and stories. Star Wars, The Matrix, Harry Potter, The Lord of the Rings, The Lion King, all follow the hero's journey precisely. Why? Because Joseph Campbell revealed that this structure is hardwired into human consciousness. George Lucas explicitly used Campbell's hero's journey when writing Star Wars. So did the creators of The Matrix, Harry Potter, and countless other modern stories. They recognize that this pattern resonates with audiences because it speaks to something deep in human psychology. But here's the question: why does this pattern exist in the first place? Carl Jung would say it's an archetype, a universal pattern in the collective unconscious. Campbell would say it's the monomyth, the one story that all humans tell because it describes the universal journey of transformation. But there are other possibilities. What if the hero's journey is describing an actual initiation process? What if ancient mystery schools taught seekers this exact path to enlightenment? What if Buddha, Jesus, Moses, Hercules, and others actually underwent these stages and their stories were preserved? Or what if the hero's journey is describing something even more literal? What if advanced beings or extraterrestrial entities took humans through this exact process? Birth, selection, training, trials, death and rebirth, gaining power, returning transformed. What if the myths are preserving memories of actual programs that transformed ordinary humans into legendary figures? Consider this: the hero's journey matches the structure of many modern training programs. Selection, initial resistance, meeting trainers, crossing into the program, facing tests, approaching the hardest challenge, surviving the ordeal, gaining certification, returning to the world with new skills. Is this coincidence? Or did ancient myths preserve actual training structures? And here's another fascinating angle: the hero's journey matches the structure of near-death experiences. People who have NDEs report leaving their ordinary life, crossing a threshold, entering a realm of light or darkness, facing a life review, ordeal, gaining knowledge or meeting beings, mentor, and returning transformed with a gift of wisdom. Are myths preserving actual experiences of death and return? Then there's the shamanic journey interpretation. Shamans across cultures undergo initiation that matches the hero's journey. They leave ordinary consciousness, journey to other realms, face spirits and demons, die symbolically or literally, receive visions and healing power, and return to their community as transformed healers. Is the hero's journey describing shamanic initiation that was universal in ancient cultures? Or consider the psychological interpretation. The hero's journey perfectly describes individuation, Jung's process of becoming a fully realized individual. You leave childhood unconsciousness, ordinary world, receive the call to grow, call to adventure, resist change, refusal, find guidance, mentor, enter adulthood, crossing threshold, face life challenges, tests, confront your shadow, innermost cave, experience ego death, ordeal, integrate your discoveries, reward, return to society, road back, fully transform, resurrection, and live authentically, return with elixir. Is the hero's journey simply describing universal human development? But there's one more possibility that's even more intriguing. What if the hero's journey is describing the structure of consciousness itself? What if awareness naturally moves through these stages when exploring reality? You start in ordinary awareness, receive a call to explore, meditation, psychedelics, spiritual practice, resist at first, find teachers or techniques, cross into altered states, face inner trials, approach the deepest levels of consciousness, experience ego dissolution, gain profound insight, integrate back into ordinary awareness, and return with expanded consciousness. Could the hero's journey be the universal structure that consciousness follows when transforming itself? Here's what we know for certain: every culture tells hero stories. And those stories follow the same pattern with remarkable precision. Whether it's Gilgamesh, Moses, Buddha, Jesus, Hercules, King Arthur, Luke Skywalker, or Harry Potter, the journey is identical. Birth, call, refusal, mentor, threshold, tests, ordeal, reward, return. This pattern reveals something profound. Whether it's psychological, spiritual, mythological, or literal, the hero's journey speaks to a universal human experience. We all feel called to something greater. We all resist change. We all face trials. We all must confront our deepest fears. We all must die to who we were to become who we're meant to be. We all must return and share what we've learned. The hero's journey isn't just a story. It's a map of transformation. It's a guide for anyone seeking to grow, to evolve, to become more than they are. And every hero from every culture is showing us the same path. What do you think? Is the hero's journey purely psychological? Is it describing actual spiritual transformation? Is it preserving memories of ancient initiation programs? Or is it revealing the structure of consciousness itself? Let me know in the comments what makes the most sense to you. And if you want to keep exploring the patterns hidden in ancient myths and modern stories, subscribe to Forbidden Knowledge. Tomorrow we're diving into obscure Greek gods and their hidden powers, forgotten deities that reveal secrets about the true nature of the Greek pantheon. This is going to be fascinating. Thanks for watching.